So this is interesting. Fernando will know this. Rugby is the fourth most popular sport in Ireland. Let's just start there, okay? So it sits behind football, soccer, as we say in this part of the world. In your part of the world, football, as they say over here, and Gaelic sports, which are Gaelic football, their own on-island version, and camogie, hurling, which is basically a sport played with a very old sport with a stick and a ball. And so rugby falls fourth behind that. So already we have a small population, under 6 million people on the island, fourth most popular sport. And so for us, like any small country competing in any sport, let alone rugby, we have to get the most out of everything we have from an athlete development perspective. And so as the head of athletic performance, my role is to ensure, alongside my colleagues, that not only are we preparing our national team, right, that's the pointy end of the spear, but we have 4 professional teams that play in their own competition, similar to the NFL or the NBA or Premier League soccer. So they have a full 11-month season. And then under those 4 teams are academies and pathway feeder systems. We're a small enough nation where my role sits across all of those areas with about 35 staff members across those 4 respective teams and national squads. And so you have myself, you have someone in a physio role, someone in a sports psych, someone in nutrition, someone in the medical side, someone in the rugby side, so on and so forth. And we basically are a team of teams. And what we have looked at as our strategic advantage is we're big enough to win, but we're small enough to manage. And so therefore, when we get an idea on, hey, we can do this practice in the weight room better, or we think we can chase this conditioning approach on the pitch, on the field better, or we think we can introduce this new methodology for return to perform or injury risk reduction, we can, in a matter of one phone call or a 2-hour drive down the road, get everybody on the same page, democratically bash out the ideas, go to service providers, whether it be software, tech, what have you, and go as a nation rather than individual teams. And ultimately, we talk about our point of difference, or our green edge, being the power of 4. In that we can learn 4 times as quickly because we have 4 teams that, while they are competitors against each other, they recognize that they're a community of competitors. And they have far more to learn from one another than they do to take from one another. Ego does not exist. Silver bullets have been turned off, right? And we're all in the business of how do we share ideas. And ultimately, any coach worth their salt, and Justin and Fernando, you know this, any coach worth their salt will say, here's my program. Here's everything I do. Here's my science. They know the magic happens at the point of contact. The magic is the space between me and the person in front of me. And that you can't take away from anybody. And so we're attacking it from every which way, but I think the biggest thing is ego is gone. Democracy is high. Best practice is best practice. It's not about the best person. And ultimately, we can share ideas much faster and accelerate their implementation than our competitors. And I think that is one of the reasons Ireland is punching well above its weight against all statistical odds.
Like, hearing you say all that, how do you... Me personally, hearing that, like, how do you manage all of that and stay sane? Like, it just sounds overwhelming, honestly.
It can be. And when I arrived here in 2016, it was overwhelming. I mean, I'm literally driving to Leinster, to Munster, to Connacht, to Ulster. For those in the States, those are our 4 states. Those are our 4 provinces. And there's one professional rugby team in each of those. That's how most sports work over here in Europe. And I'm talking to the professional side, the academy, the pathway, across disciplines. I'm coming from a different culture. I'm an American. I'm coming from a different sport background, NFL and elite military. Never even worked in rugby. So was it overwhelming? Absolutely. But for me, I just took a very systematic approach and said, I'm here to help us get better. All of you are the spokes doing your job every single day to the best of your ability. I'm simply going to facilitate being the hub that brings all that greatness together, that allows any idea happening in one place to benefit all places. And if you go to Vegas and you get 3-to-1 odds, you're going to take them. And that's exactly what we've built. Because anytime one province shares, there's 3 other provinces that can be sharing right back at them. So your return on investment to be open and engaging with your colleagues that are also competitors is far greater than keeping everything to yourself. And ultimately, people that didn't align with that inevitably made their way out of the system because there's just no room for ego. It got squeezed out.
Yeah, like, how long did it take people to get on board with that, right? You said you got there in 16. Did it, like...
For at least 4 years. I would say the systems that now align all of those many entities horizontally and vertically took easily 4 to 5 years to implement. And don't get me wrong, there was low-hanging fruit that we attacked along the way. One of the first things we did was bring in a lot of professional development. A lot of professional development means we were priming the pump. We were putting good ideas into the ecosystem, and we were seeing what's working, what's sticking, where are we getting benefit, where are we getting adaptation. And then all along, as we found things that seemed to work for us, we then tried to turn them into systems. And so, for example, I'll give you 2 examples here. Every single step that our players take on the field, on the pitch, as measured by that little unit on the back of their shoulder blades, a GPS unit, every single player who's contracted with us, from roughly 19 years old all the way up to our senior international players, wears one of those. And so that means there is not a single training session, whether it be sprinting, conditioning, or rugby, that we're not measuring. And every one of those teams uses the same hardware, uses the same labeling nomenclature in terms of how they actually cut and call what happens in a session. Awesome. All of those teams have agreed to the same standards. How much should we do? When should we do it? Agreed to where there should be autonomy, where there should be consistency, and that happens across everything we do on the field. We've mirrored that exact same behavior in the weight room. Every single rep, set, and exercise is collected in real time every single day across every single one of those levels. And ultimately what we have done is we've taken all of that intelligence across 5 different entities and we've pumped it through a centralized sports science system that we feed back. And on a quarterly basis, all of these teams have agreed to have their data in aggregate, respecting the anonymity of the players, presented back to the whole group. So you get to see as percentages, for example, what percent of your players are in the national standard for strength? What percentage of your training weeks are you in the national standard? And by national, I don't just mean the international.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.